So here's an interesting fact. Among symphony audiences, Gustav Mahler is the third most popular composer, narrowly trailing Beethoven and Mozart. And yet he's not performed as often as the other top composers. Why is that? A performance of a Mahler symphony is a special event, a grand affair, often involving a very large orchestra. But even more importantly, the music is emotionally ambitious. Mahler demands a commitment from both performers and listeners, and he rewards that commitment with an unforgettable musical experience. Mahler was arguably the first true virtuoso conductor, the first to fully understand the capacity of a modern symphony orchestra. He dominated the podiums of top opera houses and concert halls, from Vienna to New York. The combination of his sensational talent, his unrelentingly demanding personality, and his probing musical mind led to performances that opened a new era of extraordinary standards. We can get a glimpse inside his mind by looking at the scores of his symphonies. The layers of detail are astonishing, and he annotates his scores with specific instructions and cautions to the conductor, in effect passing on the fruits of his vast experience. Reading a Mahler score is a lesson in orchestration and a lesson in conducting technique.
Playing Mahler is one of the most exciting opportunities that we get as horn players. Really, once we see the announcement that Mahler is included in the following year's lineup, we get all abuzz with nervous anticipation. One of the things that makes Mahler so appealing to horn players is the fact that he wrote such beautiful lines and melodies for us to play. He's a very lyrically driven composer. Preparing to play a Mahler symphony is like preparing to play a solo recital. There is so much detail to consider. He writes very specific comments about how he wants every moment to sound. And of course, they are all in German, so our first step is translation. We have to plan for endurance issues, for long lines without enough places for breath, and of course, the sheer technical demands. Mahler also includes some instructions that are uniquely Mahlerian. Schultrichter auf means bells up. And aufstehen means literally to stand up. The passage at the end where all 8 horns stand to play the final melody is the kind of thing we as horn players dream about.
Mahler lands squarely in the tradition of German Romanticism, and much of his music includes references to poetry, literature, philosophy. For an early performance of his first symphony, he wrote a description, a program that describes some of the ideas that inspired the music. And though he later withdrew the program, it still provides intriguing insights. For example, the darkly humorous funeral march of the third movement was inspired by a well-known children's woodcut that portrays a procession of forest animals carrying a dead hunter. The sense of drama in the program comes to the fore in the last movement. The titles From the Inferno to Paradise, and the scope of the music is huge. It's here that we see one of Mahler's signature musical gestures, the breakthrough. Through grinding repetition, he increases the intensity to an unbearable level before releasing it into joyful fanfares. There's a lot of drama on the surface of this piece, reminding us that Mahler was first and always a man of the theater. In November, the Pensacola Symphony performed Mahler's Songs of a Wayfarer. The poetry's filled with vivid imagery, spring meadows with birds singing, desolate roadsides, lost love, broken hearts. In the First Symphony, Mahler revisits some of this music, and although there's no singing, the music comes alive when we hear it in the context of the poetry that originally inspired it. If you ask an orchestral musician what their favorite piece is, there's a pretty good chance they will answer anything by Mahler. There's an emotional intensity in this music that every player responds to personally. The combination of 80 personal responses creates a richness and fulfillment that makes a Mahler performance truly special.